Alright guys, we're almost done with our application. What I want to do now is add the settings area in our panels. So let's go ahead and log in here. And basically I want to have just a settings link up here that'll take us to a form where we can check off certain options like allow the registration or not. So let's go to Visual Studio Code and let's open up, actually it looks like I have the wrong folder here. Let me just go ahead and open up the right folder. Alright, so we're going to go into, let's see, app, components, and settings, and then settings component TS and settings component HTML. So let's go to the TS file first, and we're going to bring in some stuff. We're going to bring in the settings service, which we've already created. And that's going to come from //services/settings.service. Okay, we also want to bring in the router so that we can redirect. Alright, we also want to bring in the flash message service. Okay, that's going to be from Angular 2/flash/messages. And then we're going to just inject those as dependencies into our constructor parameters here. So let's do we'll say public settings service, set that to settings service. Let's do public flash messages, flash messages service. Actually, we'll call this flash messages service as well. We'll stay consistent. And then also the router. So let's say public router, set that to router. Alright, now did we set the settings model yet? Yes, we did. So let's bring that in as well. It's going to be in models/settings. Okay. So what we want to do is get the settings from the service. And if we open up the service, where is it? Services, settings service TS, and we have this get settings, which is just going to return the default values here. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that in ng on init. So this dot settings service dot what are we going to do? This get settings, and we're actually going to set a property. Let's go up here and let's say we want settings set to as the type of settings, and then we're going to set this dot settings to the settings we get from the service. Okay. Now what we want to do is save that and go and work on the HTML, the form, okay, the settings form. So up here we're going to start off with just having a row class, and in here we're going to have a call MD6, okay, and then we're going to have another one under it, same format as most of the pages. We're going to have a back to dashboard, so let's put an A tag and we'll say router link. Set that to slash, and let's give it a class of btn btn-link. Alright, and then we're going to have an icon in here with the class of fa, and then fa-arrow circle-o-left. Okay, and this is just going to say back to dashboard. Alright, and nothing's going to go in here for now. So let's go ahead and save that, and I just want to add a link to the settings component. So we're going to have to go to our app.module, and let's go down to where we have our routes. We'll put a comma here, And I'm just going to copy, let's copy the add client. And then we'll just actually paste that in over that. And let's say settings, and change this to settings component. And then, whoop. And we want the auth guard as well, because obviously you should be logged in to be able to visit this. And then one other thing I want to do here that we haven't done is implement the page not found component, which we created. It's coming in right here. So this should be at the very end, and if there's a route that doesn't match any of these, that's what we want to load. So let's go in here, and let's just say path, and we're going to set that to a double asterisk, which is going to just be anything, and then we'll say component and set that to page not found component. Alright, and you guys can do whatever you want with that. I'm just going to go to, let's see, page not found, and let's go to the HTML file, and I'm just going to put an H1 here. Oh. Let's put an H1 and we'll just say page not found, okay? And you guys can style that however you want. Alright, so now let's go back to, let's see, let's go to the navbar and add a settings link. So let's see, navbar, where are you? HTML, and we're going to put this, let's see, we'll copy, let's copy the logout li, and we're going to put it right, let's put it right after the logged in user, right before the logout. And we'll change this to settings, get rid of this click event, and then for the href, that's fine. Let's put a router link and set that to /settings. Okay, and it should be is logged in. So let's try that out. Okay, so now we have a settings link. We click that, brings us to the settings. All right, so let's continue on with the HTML in settings component HTML. And we're going to go, let's see, we're going to go down below this div, and we're going to use a card here, just like we've been using on other pages. It's going to have a card header. And in the card header, let's say edit settings. Okay, and then under the card header, actually the card header I want to be an H3. And then under that, we'll put a div with the class of card block. And then in here, we're going to have our form. Okay, and our form is going to have a submit event. It's going to be a simple form, and it's going to call a function called onSubmit. Okay. And let's see, in here, let's put a form group div. And we're going to have a label, no for. So the label is going to be allow registration. And then we'll have our input. And the type of this is going to be checkbox. Now we want this to be checked depending on a certain condition. So in here, let's use our brackets, and we're going to say checked. And we want to set that equal to settings. It's going to be settings dot allow registration. Okay, now when this changes, okay, we're going to put a change event here. I don't think we've used that yet. When it changes, then we're going to set settings dot allow registration. Oops, forgot the A there. And let me just wrap this. I don't know why it doesn't stay wrapped. So settings dot allow registration, and we want to set it equal to not settings allow registration. So it's just going to toggle it basically. It's going to toggle it back and forth when we check the box. All right, and let's just give this a name of allow registration. Okay, so that's our first setting. Now I'm going to just copy this div group, paste it in 2 more times, and this one here is going to be disable balance on add, and then we're just going to change this right here, disable balance on add. Just going to copy that. We'll put that here as well, here and here. Okay, and then this one is going to be disable on edit, or disable balance on edit. And then here we'll say disable balance on edit. Okay, we'll put that here and here and here. Alright, and then we just need to submit. So let's say input type submit, and let's give this a class of btn primary, and then btn block, and then we'll just give it a value of submit. Alright, so there's our form. Let's save it. Let's take a look. And now these checkboxes should pertain to whatever is in our service, our settings service. So for instance, if we go into service, our settings service, and we set allow registration to false and save, and then we go back, you can see allow registration is now not checked. So this is reactive to our service options. Now the way that we're going to be able to if check this and save it and change it is by using local storage. Okay, we're going to submit a function to the service, and then we're going to add that setting to local storage. So let's take care of the submit of the form. So we're going to go back to our settings component TS, and we're going to put on submit, and then we're going to do this dot settings service dot, and then we're going to have a function called change settings. Okay, and then we'll pass in this dot settings, which are connected to the stuff in that form. Okay, and then we'll just have a flash message service dot show dot show, and we'll say settings saved, and then we'll have our CSS class, which will be alert success, and then timeout will be 4 seconds. Okay, and then we just want to redirect, so this dot router dot navigate, and we just want to go back to settings, so the same page basically. Alright, now we just need to create the change settings in our service. So let's go to our settings service, say change settings. Remember, that takes in settings, which we can cast to the settings model. Now we need to implement local storage, which is going to be pretty easy for us here because it's not actually an array, it's just an object, so we can just store it as is. We just need to convert it to a string before we store it. So let's go in our constructor and first do a check for local storage dot get item, and it'll be called settings. We want to see if that's not equal to null. So are there settings in local storage? Okay, if there are, then let's fetch them and put them into this dot settings, which will overwrite whatever we have here. Okay, which I'm going to set this to true by default here. Alright, but let's go ahead and say JSON.parse, because remember it's stored as a string in local storage, but we need to parse it as JSON. And then we'll say local storage.getItem and settings. Okay, and then to change it, we'll go down here, and all we have to do is say local storage.setItem, pass in settings, that's the item we want to change, and then we're going to put in the settings that are passed in, except we need to put them in as a string, so we're going to wrap it in JSON.stringify. Alright, so hopefully that makes sense. Now let's save, and now it should work. So let's see. right now we have what registration is enabled, right? So if we log out, you'll see we have a register link. It works. But let's go back in. And then let's go to settings and let's uncheck this and click submit. Settings saved. If we go back to settings, you'll see it's still unchecked. And if I log out, there's no registration link. And we can't even go to register, right? Because we have that register guard in place. So that works. Now let's check the other two settings we have. Right now we have disable balance on add and on edit. So if we go to add a client, you'll see it's grayed out. We can't change the balance. If we go to edit a client, it's also grayed out. Now let's go to settings and uncheck both of these and submit, and then we'll go to add a client, and now we can change the balance, or we can add a balance here. All right, same thing with edit. So if we click edit, you'll see we can edit it. Okay. So that's it, guys. Our application is done. Now there's a lot you could do to add on to this, and hopefully you guys can take what you've learned and you can make this an even better application. But that's going to be it for now for this project, and I will see you in the next video.